Welcome to Crafted Nest, the home where creativity and sustainability meet. Here, we transform forgotten things into timeless treasures for your garden and home. Today, we'll take you on a warm and inspiring journey, showing how recycled materials can bloom into beauty and purpose. If you love discovering simple yet magical DIY ideas, make sure to subscribe and join our nest of creators, because every piece you make tells a story worth keeping. There is something timeless about creating a seat with your own hands, especially when the wood once carried stories from another life. Imagine finding old pallets stacked quietly behind a warehouse or offered freely by a neighbor. Their surfaces are rough, marked with scratches, stains, and rusty nail holes. Yet within them lies the charm of renewal. As you sand each board, the fragrance of old timber mixes with the scent of earth and flowers around you. Slowly, the weathered planks transform into a rustic bench, simple yet full of character. This is not furniture from a store. It is a piece of your garden soul. When you set the bench beneath a tree or along a gravel path, it does more than offer a place to sit. It becomes an anchor, a reminder of patience, resourcefulness, and the quiet beauty of imperfection. To make it last, treat the wood with natural oils or eco-friendly sealants, protecting it from rain while keeping the rustic look alive. Add soft cushions sewn from leftover fabrics, and suddenly the bench is not only a seat, but a warm invitation. Friends can gather, children can laugh, and in the evening you can rest, listening to the hum of crickets under the fading sky. A bench made from pallet wood is more than just recycling. It is storytelling in every line and crack. It teaches us that what seems forgotten can return with purpose, shaping a garden that feels deeply personal and alive. In the quiet corners of many gardens, old buckets often stand forgotten, their handles bent, their sides scarred by rust. Yet, with a touch of imagination, they can be reborn as vessels of life. Transforming an old bucket into a planter is like giving the metal a second voice, one that sings through the colors of flowers and the fragrance of herbs. Picture an aged bucket, once used to carry water or feed animals, now holding a bright cluster of petunias. Its rough exterior tells a story of years gone by, while its interior cradles new roots, tender leaves, and blossoms that reach eagerly for the sun. This marriage of age and renewal becomes the very essence of rustic beauty. Buckets are wonderfully versatile. Large ones can host tall lavender or bushy tomatoes, while smaller ones cradle delicate herbs like mint or rosemary. To prepare them, simply drill small holes at the bottom for drainage, then line them with a layer of gravel or broken terracotta. Fill them with rich soil, and let the planting begin. Placed together along a fence or gathered in a cluster near a garden path, these bucket planters create a tapestry of textures and colors. Their slight imperfections, dents, scratches, faded paint, only add to their charm. They remind us that beauty does not come from perfection, but from the courage to keep serving with grace. And as you water them each morning, you will notice how something once ordinary becomes extraordinary, simply by being seen with new eyes. A rusty bucket may no longer carry water, but it carries life, and that is a gift worth celebrating. A pergola is more than just a structure. It is a frame for moments. When built from reclaimed beams, each piece of wood carries its own story, perhaps once part of a barn, a bridge, or a fence. Their scars, knots, and faded colors do not hide their past, but proudly display it, giving the garden a soul that no new timber could offer. Imagine placing the beams upright, their edges slightly uneven, yet strong enough to hold the sky. Across them, you stretch more boards, leaving open slats that invite sunlight to dance in patterns on the ground. With time, vines climb upward, weaving their way through the beams, spilling blossoms and leaves that soften the structure with living beauty. Beneath this canopy, life unfolds gently. It becomes a place where you sip tea in the morning, where friends share laughter, or where silence wraps around you as the evening light fades. Lanterns or recycled glass jars can hang from the beams, glowing softly when night arrives, turning the pergola into a stage for memories. To build one, you need patience more than perfection. Sand the wood lightly to remove splinters. Treat it with oils that protect but preserve its rustic look. Then let it stand proud. Imperfections are welcome here. They remind you that nature does not ask for symmetry to be beautiful. A rustic pergola built from reclaimed beams is not just shelter. It is a story written in wood, vines, and sunlight, waiting for you to sit beneath and live your own chapter. There is a quiet poetry in walking along a path made from bricks and stones that once belonged elsewhere. Perhaps the bricks once formed the walls of an old house, or the stones once lined a forgotten road. In your garden, they find new purpose, guiding footsteps, holding memories, and whispering history with every step. As you lay them down, no two bricks are alike. Some are chipped, others faded, each with a different shade of red or brown. The stones, irregular in shape, fit together like a puzzle only nature could design. Instead of striving for perfect alignment, you embrace their unevenness, allowing grass or moss to grow in the cracks, softening the lines with living green. A pathway is more than convenience. It is a journey. It draws the eye forward, inviting you deeper into the garden, toward a bench beneath a tree or a hidden corner where flowers bloom. Each time you walk it, you feel connected to the past, yet grounded in the present moment. Practical too, these pathways help with drainage, keeping shoes dry after rain, while adding structure that organizes the garden's flow. With a little effort, collecting bricks from salvage yards or stones from a nearby riverbank, you can create something both functional and beautiful without buying new materials. And when the morning sun touches the bricks, warming them under your feet, you will know that your pathway is more than just recycled matter. It is a ribbon of stories, leading you gently through the heart of your rustic garden paradise. In the rhythm of a garden, borders quietly shape the flow, guiding where flowers bloom, where paths meander, and where vegetables thrive. Using glass bottles as borders is both playful and poetic, turning what many discard into shining ornaments of light and color. Imagine collecting bottles, each once holding laughter at a dinner table, or refreshing drinks on a hot day. Now, instead of lying forgotten, they stand upright in soil, transformed into guardians of your plants. The green, brown, and blue hues catch the sunlight differently throughout the day, sometimes glowing softly in the morning mist, sometimes sparkling like gemstones at noon. Arranging them is simple, yet meditative. You press each bottle into the earth one by one, forming curves around flower beds or vegetable plots. The repetition creates rhythm, a gentle line that feels handmade and intimate. Imperfections are welcome, mismatched sizes, faded labels, or chips along the rim. All these make the border uniquely yours. Beyond beauty, bottle borders serve a practical role. They protect fragile plants from being stepped on, hold soil in place, and even help guide water when rain falls. At night, when lanterns or moonlight touch the glass, the bottles shimmer quietly, adding magic to the garden's ambience. This project is not about expense, but imagination. What others throw away becomes your treasure. And every time you walk past the border, you are reminded that sustainability can also be stunning. In a rustic garden paradise, even a simple glass bottle has the power to shine anew. When the sun slips behind the horizon, a garden transforms. Colors soften, the air cools, and the world grows quiet. Yet with a gentle glow of mason jar lights, the evening blossoms into warmth and magic. A simple glass jar, once holding jams or pickles, can be reborn as a lantern. Inside, you place a candle or a small solar light, and suddenly, it becomes a star in your backyard sky. Hung from tree branches, they sway gently in the evening breeze, their flickering flames casting moving patterns on leaves and walls. Along pathways, the jars guide your steps, marking the way with tiny pockets of light. Each jar reflects its surroundings, the shimmer of dew, the gleam of flowers, the faint outline of stones. It is not the harsh glare of modern lamps, but a humble, soothing glow that welcomes you home. On a pergola, the effect grows even richer. Dozens of jars, each glowing like a firefly, create an atmosphere of comfort and intimacy. Conversations feel softer, meals linger longer, and silence becomes a gentle companion under their light. To make them, all you need are jars, wire or rope for hanging, and a source of light. Solar options last through the night, while candles give an old-world charm. Safety and creativity walk hand in hand here, each jar unique, each glow personal. In these recycled lights, we find more than decoration. We find a way to slow down, to gather moments, to see that beauty is not bought but built. And as the garden hums quietly under their glow, you realize that the night has its own kind of bloom. Water has always had a way of softening the edges of a garden. Its sound is calming, its presence refreshing, and when shaped through old barrels, it carries a rustic charm that feels timeless. Imagine discovering an old barrel, once used to store wine, oil, or grain. Its wood is darkened, its metal bands slightly rusted, yet when filled with water, it becomes something alive. You add a small pump, and suddenly the barrel whispers, water trickling, bubbling, flowing in gentle rhythm. The sound mingles with birdsong, weaving a melody that soothes both body and mind. Barrels can become fountains, bird baths, or even small ponds. A cut barrel, shallow and round, makes the perfect pool for sparrows to bathe. A tall barrel, with water flowing from a spout, creates a fountain that draws the eye. Around it, you can place stones, moss, or even let wildflowers creep close, blending it naturally into the garden. Practical, too, these features invite life. Birds come to drink, dragonflies skim the surface, and sometimes even frogs find a new home. The water reflects sunlight by day and moonlight by night, adding sparkle to every moment you spend outdoors. The beauty lies not in perfection, but in transformation. What was once just a vessel for storage becomes a vessel for serenity. In every ripple, you are reminded that sustainability is not about sacrifice, but about rediscovery of nature, of creativity, and of peace. With an old barrel and a little imagination, you can let water teach your garden how to breathe. A fence is more than a boundary. It is a frame for the story your garden tells. When made from scrap wood, every board becomes a chapter, carrying the marks of its past life into a new purpose. Some planks are tall and sturdy, others short and weathered, their edges rough, their surfaces scarred. Yet together, they create a barrier that feels alive with character. Picture gathering old boards from pallets, crates, or even doors no longer used. Each one has its own shade, from gray faded by the sun to brown darkened by years of rain. You place them side by side, not worrying about perfect alignment. The uneven heights and textures create rhythm, a rustic melody written in wood. Over time, vines may climb the boards, softening their roughness with green tendrils and blossoms. Small flower pots, hung from nails or hooks, turn the fence into a vertical garden, bursting with color. Even simple wire mesh, patched with wood scraps, can cradle climbing beans or cucumbers, transforming necessity into beauty. This kind of fencing is not just sustainable but deeply personal. It doesn't pretend to be flawless. It celebrates imperfection, blending naturally into the earth it protects. And when the sun sets, the wood glows softly in the golden light, reminding you that beauty often comes from what we once overlooked. A rustic scrap wood fence teaches us something essential, that strength can be found in the broken and harmony in the mismatched. It stands as both protector and storyteller, quietly holding your garden together with authenticity and grace. A greenhouse built from reclaimed windows feels like a dream stitched together from fragments of the past. Each pane once framed a different view, perhaps a kitchen, a living room, or a forgotten attic. Now, joined together, they shelter new life, turning sunlight into nourishment for seeds and leaves. As you gather the windows, their imperfections become part of the story. Some frames are chipped, others painted in faded colors, a few glass panes cracked but still holding strong. When assembled, they form the mosaic of memories, each window letting in light from a slightly different angle. The effect is magical. Sunlight scatters inside, bathing the seedlings in a glow that feels warm and timeless. Inside, wooden shelves hold terracotta pots filled with herbs, vegetables, and flowers. The scent of damp soil mixes with the faint mustiness of aged wood. You can sit quietly, watching condensation bead and trickle down the glass, a reminder of the cycle of water and life. Practicality blends with beauty here. The greenhouse protects tender sprouts from harsh winds and cold nights, extending the growing season. Salvaged windows, once discarded, become guardians of new beginnings. The tin or wooden roof above adds strength, while climbing vines outside soften the edges, merging structure and nature. In the evening, when the sun sets and golden light filters through, the greenhouse becomes a lantern, glowing softly against the darkening sky. It whispers of resourcefulness, of patience, and of finding wonder in the old. A reclaimed window greenhouse is not just a shelter for plants. It is a testament to creativity, a place where the past and present grow together, side by side, under the gentle warmth of the sun. There is something deeply charming about a shelf that doesn't stand on the ground but hangs gently in the air, held by nothing more than rope and trust. Hanging rustic shelves, crafted from reclaimed wood and thick rope, bring both function and poetry into the garden. Imagine finding old planks, their surfaces rough with scratches and time. You cut them to size, sand them just enough to keep their soul, and then drill holes at each corner. Through these you thread sturdy jute rope, knotting it tightly until the boards hang balanced. Simple, yet graceful. Hung from a shed wall, pergola beam, or even a sturdy tree branch, the shelves become floating stages for life. Clay pots of herbs, glass jars of seeds, or even small lanterns find a home here. Their weight makes the ropes taut, their presence adding both utility and beauty. Every breeze makes them sway just slightly, as if the garden itself were breathing. Practicality meets artistry in this design. The shelves keep tools within reach, display flowers like paintings, and save space while adding rustic character. Each knot in the rope, each crack in the wood, whispers authenticity, a reminder that elegance doesn't have to come from perfection. As the sun shifts, shadows dance across the shelves, highlighting the mix of natural textures, rough rope, aged wood, and living green. And in those quiet moments, when you hang one more pot or jar, you feel a gentle satisfaction. You've created not just storage, but a story suspended in the air. Hanging rustic shelves teach us that sometimes the simplest ideas, wood, rope, and imagination, can hold the greatest charm. Every garden carries its share of forgotten tools, a watering can, once faithful in quenching thirsty soil, left behind to rust in the corner. Yet even in its decline, it can bloom again, not through water, but through life it now holds within. Picture an old can, its handle bent, its surface speckled with rust. Where others see decay, you see potential. With a little soil inside and a hole for drainage, the can becomes a planter, a vessel of rebirth. Soon, daisies lift their heads from its mouth, or herbs spill gracefully over its edges. The contrast is striking, fragile blossoms against weathered metal, life against time. Placed on a table, a stone step, or hidden in a corner of the garden, the watering can planter becomes a story told in whispers. Visitors pause to smile, charmed by the unexpected pairing of beauty and imperfection. And you, too, find joy in knowing that nothing has been wasted. Not the can, not its history, not the effort you put into its renewal. Practical, yet poetic, this planter teaches that charm often hides in the ordinary. The rust, once seen as flaw, becomes texture. The dents become character. The whole object becomes proof that endings can transform into beginnings. As the seasons turn, flowers fade and new ones rise within the same can. It continues to serve, no longer as a tool of water, but as a cradle of color. And in this transformation, you are reminded that beauty is not always about what is new. Sometimes, it is about seeing with kinder eyes. There is a certain magic in lying back, listening to the trees whisper, and letting yourself be carried by a hammock stitched from stories of the past. Old fabrics, once tablecloths, curtains, or jeans, come together in a patchwork of memories, transformed into a swing or hammock that brings new joy to the garden. Picture ropes tied firmly between two trees, their bark rough yet dependable. Between them, fabric stretches, worn but strong, holding you gently as you rest. The imperfections, mismatched colors, frayed edges, faded patterns, only deepen its charm. When the wind stirs, the hammock sways like a lullaby, reminding you that peace often comes in simple forms. Or perhaps it's a swing, where a wooden seat carries a cushion made from reclaimed cloth. Children laugh as they soar, their joy echoing through the garden, while adults find a quiet seat to dream or read. The fabric tells its own story. Once discarded, now cradling new memories in motion. Practical yet soulful, these creations reuse what might otherwise be wasted. Old denim becomes durable support, cotton adds softness, and ropes found in storage gain new purpose. Together, they form a haven that costs little but offers so much. In the glow of afternoon light, as flowers nod nearby and shadows dance on the ground, the hammock or swing becomes a symbol of renewal. It whispers that rest is not indulgence but necessity, and that even the most ordinary fabric can hold extraordinary comfort when seen with care. What once shatters does not always end. Sometimes it begins again, reborn in color and light. Broken ceramics, with their jagged edges and faded glazes, can be transformed into accents that give a garden both personality and poetry. Imagine a box of old plates and tiles, some cracked, some chipped. Instead of discarding them, you gather the fragments and piece them into something new. A stepping stone becomes a canvas, shards of blue, green, and terracotta pressed into cement, forming patterns that catch the eye as you walk. Each step becomes a small celebration of resilience. A bird bath, its rim lined with mosaic, reflects the sky as birds dip their beaks in cool water. The broken ceramics shimmer in sunlight, turning ordinary clay into a halo of color. On a wall or planter, fragments arranged into floral shapes create a mural that feels rustic and timeless, like art born of necessity. The process itself is soothing. Sorting the shards, arranging them into patterns, pressing them into place, it is a kind of slow meditation. Imperfection becomes beauty, chaos becomes harmony, and in the end, your garden carries a story that is both artistic and deeply personal. Beyond their charm, these accents are also durable, weathering sun and rain with ease. Each year, as seasons pass, the colors may fade slightly, but their character only deepens, reminding you that broken things can still shine. A garden decorated with broken ceramics is not only sustainable but symbolic. It shows us that fragments of the past, when embraced with care, can create something unexpectedly whole, vibrant, and alive. A patio is often the heart of a garden, a place where sunlight meets comfort, where gatherings linger into the evening. When built with salvaged metal frames, it carries not only strength, but also a rustic character that feels both grounded and creative. Imagine finding old steel frames, perhaps once part of machinery, windows, or abandoned furniture. Their surfaces are weathered, showing rust or peeling paint. Yet beneath this where lies durability, bones strong enough to support new life. Paired with reclaimed wood planks, these frames become tables, benches, or even the structure of a pergola shading the patio. The result is a space that feels authentic and resourceful. Each metal beam, each wooden top, tells a story of reuse, of seeing value in what others might discard. Around the patio, potted plants soften the edges, climbing vines wind through the frames, and flowers add bursts of color. The combination of raw metal, warm wood, and living green creates a balance that feels timeless. By day, the patio becomes a stage for laughter, meals, or quiet reflection. By night, lanterns or mason jar lights can hang from the frames, glowing warmly against the steel, turning utility into charm. Every detail, the scratches on the metal, the knots in the wood, reminds you that beauty often comes from what has endured. This kind of patio does more than provide a place to sit. It creates a living testament to sustainability and creativity. Built with salvaged frames, it transforms forgotten strength into new beginnings, making your garden a rustic retreat that feels both resilient and welcoming. A garden shed is more than storage. It is a retreat, a place where work and rest meet. When built from reclaimed wood and recycled tin roofing, it carries the spirit of resilience, echoing stories of both past and present. Picture salvaged corrugated tin sheets, once part of an old barn or roof, now finding new purpose above your shed. The metal bears the marks of weather, patches of rust, dents from storms, faded streaks where rain once flowed. Instead of hiding these imperfections, you let them shine, for they give the shed a soul. The walls, made of mismatched planks, stand proudly despite their uneven colors and textures. Inside, shelves of reclaimed would hold clay pots, jars of seeds, and well-worn tools. The scent of soil lingers in the air, mixing with the metallic tang of the roof overhead. This is not a place of perfection but of honesty, where work feels lighter because everything around you has meaning. Outside, wildflowers lean against the shed, and climbing vines soften its edges. Birds perch on the roof, singing above the garden they watch over. When sunlight hits the tin, it glimmers softly. When rain falls, it drums a rhythm, turning labor into music. A shed built this way is not only practical, but deeply symbolic. It saves materials from waste, costs little, and offers a space that feels entirely your own. Here, you can sow seeds, craft projects, or simply sit in silence as the world slows down. The recycled tin roof whispers of endurance, reminding you that even the weathered can still shelter and protect, just as your garden shelters peace within its borders. A garden path can be ordinary, or it can become a gallery of memories beneath your feet. Mosaic stepping stones, crafted from leftover tiles, transform the simplest walk into a journey through color and story. Imagine gathering broken ceramic pieces, once part of kitchens, bathrooms, or tables. Their sharp edges and faded glazes may seem useless at first, yet when pressed into wet cement, they form patterns that sing with life. A fragment of blue beside a shard of terracotta, a curve of white completing a flower's petal. Each piece finds belonging. Each crack becomes part of a larger whole. Laying these stones along a path feels like planting art into the earth. Grass grows around the edges, softening the borders, while the tiles catch sunlight and scatter it in playful reflections. Children pause to trace the patterns with their fingers. Guests smile as they notice unexpected shapes. Even on rainy days, the tiles glisten like gems washed by the sky. Creating them is as therapeutic as walking on them. Mixing cement, arranging fragments, waiting for it to set. It is a slow, meditative process that rewards patience with beauty. And because the tiles are recycled, nothing is wasted. What was once broken becomes a step towards something new. Over time, the stones weather, their colors mellowing, their surfaces telling stories of footsteps and seasons past. Yet the mosaics remain, a testament to creativity and endurance. In every walk across these stepping stones, you are reminded that life, like a mosaic, is not about perfect pieces, but about the way fragments come together. And in that union, beauty is found, underfoot and within. Sometimes, the tools that once built a garden can become part of its very frame. A rake that tilled the soil, a shovel that lifted earth, a hoe that cut through weeds. When their usefulness fades, their presence can remain, reshaped into archways and trellises that invite new life to climb. Picture a row of rusty tools, their handles worn smooth by hands long gone. Instead of discarding them, you join them together, some tied with rope, others welded into place. Upright, they form the bones of a trellis. Curved, they create the sweep of an arch imperfect, mismatched, yet strong enough to stand. Soon, vines begin their slow climb, weaving through the gaps, covering metal and wood with leaves and blossoms. Morning glories stretch open in the sun, beans curl their tendrils upward, roses spill in cascades of red and pink. What was once a tool of labor becomes a frame for beauty, a doorway into another corner of the garden. Walking beneath such an arch feels like stepping into memory. The tools whisper of years when they worked the earth, and now they continue to serve, not by breaking soil, but by holding growth. The transformation is both practical and poetic, blending function, history, and artistry. These rustic structures cost almost nothing to make, yet they enrich the garden with soul. They remind us that nothing need be wasted, that even in rust and wear, there is strength to be found. And as the sun glints off old metal softened by flowers, you realize that beauty often comes from giving the past a chance to bloom again. In the quiet rhythm of recycling, even something as industrial as a cable spool can find new life in the softness of a garden. Once heavy with wires and burdened by function, the wooden spool, when turned on its side, becomes a table, round, solid, and full of rustic charm. Picture rolling one across the yard, its size awkward but promising. You clean it gently, sanding away splinters yet keeping its knots and scars intact. The circular top, marked by nail holes and weathered grain, becomes a stage for gatherings. On it, you place clay pots filled with blooms, pitchers of cool water, or even just the day's harvest of herbs and vegetables. Sometimes you leave it raw, celebrating its rugged texture. Other times, you paint it in soft pastels or earthy tones, letting color highlight its curves. Small spools can be cut into stools, creating a complete set that feels cohesive, resourceful, and inviting. Placed on a patio, under a pergola, or beneath the branches of a tree, the spool table becomes a natural gathering spot. Morning coffee tastes warmer here, evening conversations linger longer, and even solitary moments, sketching, reading, dreaming, feel more grounded around its sturdy form. What once served wires now serves connection. It tells a story of transformation, showing that beauty does not demand perfection or expense. Instead, it asks for vision, the ability to see beyond function into possibility. An outdoor table made from a recycled spool is not just furniture. It is a reminder that every object, no matter how plain or forgotten, can carry joy again if given the chance. There is something heartwarming about offering shelter to birds, especially when the homes are made from wood that has already lived a life of its own. Rustic birdhouses, crafted from salvaged planks and scraps, are more than decoration. They are invitations to life, song, and companionship in the garden. Imagine gathering old boards, perhaps from a fence long taken down or crates no longer useful. The wood is rough, uneven, scarred with knots and nails. Yet when cut and joined, it becomes a tiny cottage, a round entrance carved at the front, a slanted roof from tin or leftover shingles, and small details that give it character. Hung from branches or mounted on poles, these birdhouses quickly attract curious visitors. Sparrows, finches, or even swallows dart in and out, filling the air with song. Their feathers flash in the sunlight, their chirps weaving into the garden's daily music. What was once scrap now holds life, proving that even the smallest spaces can matter. Some birdhouses remain raw, their natural wood blending into the bark of trees. Others are painted in faded colors, blues and greens that weather beautifully with time. Together, they create a village of sorts, a neighborhood for winged travelers. Practicality shines here too. Birdhouses encourage birds to stay close, and in return, they help keep the garden balanced by eating insects. The cycle of nature thrives, supported by what began as leftover wood. In these tiny rustic homes, the lesson is simple yet profound. Every piece of timber, no matter how worn, can shelter life. And every life, no matter how small, brings joy enough to fill the garden with wonder. Rain is a gift, soft and fleeting, yet precious for every garden. To catch it, hold it, and use it again is both practical and poetic, especially when the vessel is a rustic barrel that has already known many seasons. Picture an old wooden barrel once used for wine, its staves bound by metal hoops now touched with rust. Placed beneath the gutter of a tin roof shed, it waits patiently for the sky to open. When rain falls, droplets race down the pipe, spilling into the barrel with a soothing rhythm. Soon, the barrel hums with life, storing the very essence of the clouds. At its base, a simple spigot allows you to draw the water, filling watering cans or clay pots with ease. The water feels cooler, fresher, somehow more alive than what comes from a tap. Plants seem to know the difference, their leaves lifting gratefully when you pour it over them. Some barrels are left raw and weathered, their wood darkening with every storm. Others are painted in earthy greens or browns, blending with the garden's palette. Even recycled metal barrels, patched and sturdy, find new dignity in holding rain, their dents and scars telling of resilience. Beyond saving costs, this system teaches respect for water, for cycles, for patience. It connects you to the rhythm of the seasons, reminding you that nature provides if we are willing to listen and adapt. A rustic rain barrel does more than store water. It holds stories of storms that passed, of hands that built with care, of gardens that flourish because nothing is wasted. And in that simple act of catching rain, your garden becomes part of a larger harmony, where sustainability feels both humble and beautiful.